Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with round number 2 in the FIA Manufacturers Championship. So we didn't do round 3, obviously this was around about a week ago. We did the Nations once as well. This was the only race we did at this manufacturers race. We could only do one time slot again, just like with the Nations on this round. I got on a little bit late obviously with the kids and could only enter one race, so we went on with very limited practice, no real warm-up again, and didn't really hit a brilliant qualifying time. Annoyingly, the lap wasn't very good. I definitely had the potential to get myself into probably the top 7 or 8 places on the grid, but we didn't hook it up and we were starting quite far down. And again, I do struggle sometimes with this Aston Martin, although I am starting to understand the Group 3 car a little bit in the race conditions, but we're starting quite far back. You can see down in P13 there, Calster in the Lamborghini. I think he had more potential in that Lamborghini, but again, didn't hook the lap up obviously. And down in P14 there, the BMW in front of me. That's going to be a bit of a frustrating thing for myself in P15 because the BMW is very good on tyres. So the only way I was going to get past that car was if I made a move very early on, maybe the first few laps, because after lap 3 the M6 is probably going to have better tyre wear as we get through to the front end, you know, when the tyres start going on the front end on the Aston Martin. You can see there all the way down the grid, quite a high rated lobby again. I think it was a 3k lobby, just over 3k, possibly just under maybe, sorry, I think it might have been like 2.9, 3k, something like that anyway, as we're about to start this race now. And the aim really from here was just to have some fun, because like I say, we're going into a lot of these FIA races at the moment with very limited practice. It's quite hard for myself to get on, so again, starting quite far back. Again, quite a poor qualifying, to be brutally honest. We had more pace in this. We should have really been in the top 8, like I said, but we were just going to have some fun here and just see if we could gain some places. We know how hard this track is. Everyone knows how hard the track is to get anywhere on the grid. You know, to make up one position can be a task because of the dirty air at this track. It is such a hard track to make any gains on, but we're starting this race having a look if we could just try and keep it nice and smooth on lap 1 obviously. And the aim obviously for this was to try and look after the tyres as much as possible. You can see quite closely compacted together at the start, where everyone builds up the slipstream from that start, the main straight going into turn 1, and now we're going into the real twisty section. So some cars are going to, hopefully, I was hoping that some cars would try and be optimistic up ahead and maybe get quite aggressive, because that can hold up a lot of other cars, and you never know, you might be able to gain some places from cars making mistakes. But you can see so far everyone driving very well, no real mistakes made, everyone's pretty much in a line. And again, this is pretty much, a lot of this is down to the fact of this track really does create a lot of dirty air and makes it really hard to get past, because of the way the corners go from like really fast corners into another corner. It doesn't really give you a chance to build up much of a slipstream as we go into the tight hairpin, heavy on the brakes there, and just trying to stay very close to that BMW in front. You can see we're doing pretty much as well as we can do at this stage. We're right on the rear of the BMW. The BMW's actually fell back slightly from Calster there. Calster built up a little bit of a gap, and now I actually felt like in the first few laps here we were probably more speed than the BMW. It looks like we're quite close to the rear of him. We're putting him under a bit of pressure. It looks like we're taking better lines through some of these corners as well, although the Aston Martin getting a little bit loose going through some of the corners where I'm picking up a lot of dirty air, and I wanted to get on with this. But you can see Calster, I think, made a little bit of an error through that section of track. Lamborghini is quite loose on the rear end. It's really capable of taking a lot of speed through the corners. However, the rear can go slightly loose in the slower corners, but through fast corners and top end, the Lamborghini is pretty much untouchable. As now we go into the main straight to finish lap 1, and you can see that BMW is actually caught right up to Calster there and put him under quite a lot of pressure. The Aston Martin suffers through that section as well in the slow corners. It creates quite a lot of understeer in some of them sweeping corners where you want a good front end as well, as we now go into turn 2. And again, no one has really made a mistake in this race. This really does emphasise the quality of the drivers in these top split lobbies. You can see not a single mistake made yet. We're on lap 2, we're still in P15 where we started on the grid. No mistakes made, no real changes of position either. It's very close from the front to the back. You can see the trainer cars on that bottom right hand corner in the TV replay camera. It's just a constant line where we're all picking up that dirty air. We're all just trying to stay in the slipstream and trying to look after the tyres. Obviously with this extreme tyre wear that Polyphonic, they are insistent on bringing to us with this, it's quite daft to be brutally honest. It is ruining some of the racing. I wish they could get this right. I really feel like they'd get this system right if they increased the laps by about, I think maybe an extra 10-minute races on top of what we're doing now, so like 25 to 30-minute races, but bring back the tyre wear that we had in the original the FIA seasons when we first were the official seasons from last year, when we were running about ×8 tyre wear, I think it was, maybe ×7. I think that would be about right. Just one stop, let us drive these cars a little bit more aggressive, let's have some fun, let's risk being able to actually push the cars without killing the tyres within 2 laps. I really would love them to go back that way, but I just can't see it happening. They're focused on this very unrealistic approach to the racing, which it is fun sometimes, and it does create entertaining races. I'm going to be honest, it does create races that are very close and people make mistakes because of the tyre wear. However, it's not the most realistic, and it is frustrating for the drivers as well, when you've got cars that use up a lot of tyres differently to other cars, etc. in this game. Not all cars wear the tyres even vaguely close. Some of them are extremely different. Obviously there will be due to different drivetrains. However, you've got some cars that are just much better on the tyres, and it does create a little bit of an advantage. However, at this point in the race, you can see we're putting that BMW under quite a lot of pressure, although that BMW is one of the cars with quite decent tyre wear. But he's putting Calster under pressure. I'm trying to have a little look at this point, because this is what I need to really get. If I was going to make a move, it's got to be fairly soon, because after this point now, the Aston Martin's going to start picking up a lot of front tyre wear. I did have my brake bias set 5 to the rear to try and save them front tyres as much as possible. You know, we were trying to look after them as much as we physically could as we go into the tight hairpin again, trying to get a nice solid exit. You've got to be very careful when putting the power down there when you're very close to another car in the slipstream, because of the rear goes really loose. But we have a little look again, but again, we're not able to really make a move there. I'm just trying to make him realise that I'm there. I want to get past. I feel like during this last lap and a half, I've been held up a bit. I definitely had the pace to push on a little bit more, maybe get closer to Calster. But now is going to be where we're going to start suffering probably for lap 4. The tyre wear is going to kick in as we have a massive moment there, nearly lose the rear of the car and just about hold on, but we do lose a bit of time. You can see that we've lost about 2-3 tenths there, and we've actually put the Ferrari that is behind us very close to our slipstream now, going onto the main straight. However, the Aston Martin, one of the faster cars in Group 3 down the straight, it really does have good momentum in the early gears. It's not the fastest in 6th gear, there are faster in 6th gear, but it's got good acceleration building up to that 6th gear as we go into the braking. Heavy on the brakes down into 2nd gear, and just trying to be very cautious. We don't put too much pressure on them front tyres. Obviously, we need to look after the tyres as much as possible. I wasn't sure on strategy at this point. I had nothing to lose, to be brutally honest. I was considering I was thinking while we were streaming what I can do at this phase. I can see that to overtake someone here, it is going to be so hard. You can see the way the track layout is. It's almost, you know, you've got to rely on a mistake or really lunging something up there, and it's too dangerous to lunge on this track. You don't want to lunge from far back and end up having contact. So I was thinking at this point, do I go for the undercut? Now this was extremely risky because it meant doing 7 laps if I was going to go for the undercut, because most people would pit on lap 5 because of the way the tyres is. When fuel wear kicks in, the lighter the car gets, the better the tyres wear the tyres in this game, because obviously it does replicate fuel weight. A lot of people question that a lot of the time, but yeah, GT Sport replicates fuel weight in usage and makes your car lighter, obviously. So the car gets lighter, the tyres wear better, so that's why people tend to pit that 1 lap early all the time instead of going to lap 6. So for me to do the undercut now, we're going to have to consider doing this on this lap. You can see we're holding on to P14 there in that BMW. We're doing quite a good job at this phase. Now, we're going to try and do the undercut because I felt like it was the only way to make any sort of positions up in this race. You can see that we've got cars behind us there, right behind us as well. You can see a Ferrari there pushing on. He's going to be getting the tyre wear as well. You can see now as we go down the straight, a few cars decide to go for the same strategy as me, as I try and drive him very aggressively. Look how close he was to the wall there, and we just managed to get in the pits without hitting that wall. Now we're just going to have to see. I knew that this point of the race, going into the pits, we're going to come out dead last because no one else pitted behind us, so we're not going to get caught up in any traffic really. You can see there, no traffic at all. Both the other cars in front of me also pitted on lap 4, so they're going to have fresh tyres. So now it's just about pushing this out lap and trying to get as clean a lap in as possible. I needed to do a nice clean lap The undercut was probably going to be worth at least a second after 2 seconds minimum. So it should be able to jump. Technically, it should be jumping me ahead of Calster. Calster was about 1.5 seconds up the road, so we should be able to get ahead of him if we just keep it smooth. But we don't want to take too much life out of these tyres, obviously, because these have got to do 7 laps now, and we're running the racing mediums with a high rate of tyre wear at a track that is gonna. It does take a lot of tyre wear out the Aston Martin's front tyres, because it's obviously a front engine car all the way to the front. It's not the best car for fast corners, really. It does chew the tyre wear up, and it's not really designed for them type of corners. It doesn't carry much speed anyway through the corners. So we're going to have to try and be aggressive, but also try and be smooth. As you see there, MR Steve Gaming has actually picked up a penalty from somewhere, and that gives us a boost, a jump on him. Kind of can't carry the speed that I would have liked through that right-hander, so we lose maybe a few attempts there, maybe 4 attempts there as we go through the right-hand corner, but we've got the position over him, and that position is key on this track. You know, track position is everything. As another car looks like he's had some sort of issue spinning, and it looks like the car that was right behind, is it the car? Yeah, it was the car that was behind us as we went in the pits. So the Ferrari's tyre wear is a problem with that car. We all know about it. I think a lot of us would like Polyphonic to do something about the tyre wear on that car, because it is literally undrivable. But he's going to go in the pits now, and that Ferrari is going to obviously end up quite a way behind now with that issue that he's had there. But we're going into turn 1, and just let's see, we managed to jump Calcer there. But just watch this. We're going to pause this. Look how far back's MR Steve Gaming in. We've got maximum brake pressure in already. We're in the braking zone. You know, we're well into it. And now we're going to be going into the turning in phase very shortly. But just watch how much of a lunge MR Steve Gaming makes here. We're already turning into the corner. I didn't even know he was there. I didn't expect it, because in the mirror I looked back and saw it, and it was a pretty stupid move by MR Steve Gaming, in my opinion. Coming from far too far back. He wasn't. I think he was just trying to get the jump on Calcer, but then whether he outbraked himself and just thought, I'm just going to lunge it and see what happens. But there was no way I was letting him through there. Not a chance. And he fails that move, and we keep the position. So now we're still behind Bellin there in P11. Obviously Bellin pitted also on the same lap that we did, and the Dodge Viper actually seemed to be fairly reasonable on the tyre wear. That's one thing I will say about that Dodge Viper, even though it used to be really terrible. As far as I know, it used to be quite bad in the fronts. I don't know if something's changed with it or what, but it doesn't seem quite as bad as it used to be. Although Bellin is quite good with the Dodge Viper. He is used to driving it. He has driven it, I think, for quite a few seasons now. So he probably just was maintaining the tyre wear partially himself as well, through just being very cautious through the corners. But now we're just going to try and keep it smooth and hold on to this position and see if we can just try and maintain the gap to the drivers in front. Some of them drivers are on fresher tyres so they're going to probably pull away and gain some time over ourselves over the next few laps. And now it's just going to be about holding off them drivers that are behind us, like Calster, who has got the fresher tyres, and I think another 2 drivers also had the fresher tyres also. Obviously the driver that was in front of us in the BMW, he pitted. He's going to be coming behind us also with much fresher tyres, as we then go again into turn 1. And again, keep your eye on that mirror. Just look at this one. Look how far back here Steve Gaming is again. We're well into the braking zone. We're actually further into the braking zone, and he's that far back. And just watch how late he makes a move on us. He's just going to throw it up there randomly. I'm already turning into the corner. If I try and get out of the way, I would end up in the gravel, and I shouldn't have to do that. So I just keep my line. And again, he doesn't make the move, and he's getting quite annoyed. At the end of the race, he was quite aggressive at saying towards myself. But at the end of the day, diving from that far back was pretty stupid in my personal opinion. But no harm done. We keep the position. MR Steve Gaming doesn't actually lose any time really. He's just getting very aggressive, because he's probably got Calcer behind him, probably wanting to get past. Although he's gonna have to look after them tyres also, because them tyres on that Jaguar have got to go to the end also. He's pitted the same lap as us, and that the advantage he's got in that Jaguar is probably, I think the Jaguar is a little bit faster on top end than the Aston Martin. It's a really good car at 6th gear, so that's why he's probably taking that much more speed into turn 1. And it must be better on the brakes as well, because the Aston Martin could not brake that late into turn 1. The Aston Martin's brakes in general are not very good, even in Group 4 they're not very good. As we now check out the replay camera, trying to keep it smooth and starting to build up a bit of a train. You can see that the BMW that was in front of us in the pits is just there behind. and obviously the battling that's been going on between myself and MRC Gaming has allowed them to get very close to us. You can see a 4-car train developed here now, battling for this quite not exactly a high up position, but I think we're about P11 at this stage of the race, and just trying to hold on to this. You can see the cars in front have actually pulled away a bit there because of that battling that was going on, and you can see Bellin also gained a bit of an advantage and just about holding on to the back of the group of cars that pitted the lap before him, as we now go into turn 1 again. And is he going to go for that same move? He's not going to go for the move this time. He does brake very late, but that causes him an issue on the exit of the corner. You can see we get a much better exit than MRC Gaming. And Calster's now going to have the opportunity to go for a move. It looks in the mirror like he's gone for that move. He's put the car up the inside and made a nice move to get himself up that into P12. And now we're going to have to try and see if we can hold off Calster, which is going to be very hard, again, because of the Lamborghini's acceleration and speed through fast corners. It's going to be extremely difficult to see if we can hold off into turn 1. But obviously we're going to give it our best shot and see what we can do, and see if we can develop an even bigger train behind us, because obviously pitting that lap earlier at this track with the multiplier on such a high rate with the medium tyres was going to cause us to be, every lap we were just going to be getting slower and slower and slower than the cars behind. So this was just going to be a case of, can we defend? We've still got 4 more laps to do, we've got 3.5 laps to do in this race, and try and hold them off. It's going to get quite intense as we now go through to the end, as we're actually maintaining speed with the drivers in front now, why we're not being put under pressure. So I think we lost about 1.5 seconds with the battling with MRC Gaming, but he's ended up losing out quite badly there. I think after Calster managed to get past him, he had issues with other cars that were behind him. Maybe his tyres were starting to go where he was getting too aggressive on the throttle, I'm not too sure. As Calster now putting us under a lot of pressure. You can see I'm going to try and take a wider line as possible and go down into third gear and just try and hug the inside as much as possible before getting on the power to get as good exit as possible as we go down the straight. Now watch the difference, look how fast this Lamborghini is. This is where it's not amazing through first, second, third, but then once it hits the 4th, 5th and 6th gears, just look at this acceleration on the left hand side. He's going to late brake, but then he decides to go brake in earlier and do the undercut, which was a very, very clever move by Calster. I was already going for the late braking, couldn't really do much about it, and give him the space on the inside and decide to just let him have that position. He's got the fresher tyres. I don't really want to fight too much, because if I start fighting this, it's going to mean that possibly the BMW that's behind me might get back past me. So you see, holding onto the back of Calster now, not really trying to make a move, just trying to be very cautious as we give him a little tap there, as Calster was very early on the brakes, but no harm done. He actually pulls away and we avoid getting a penalty in that situation. And now into the long, fast left-hander again, that BMW right behind us now with them fresher tyres. Obviously the BMW also, like I said earlier, one of the better cars on tyre wear, so he's got a 1 lap fresher tyres, which is probably the equivalent. I think it was timed, it might have been times 15 the tyre wear in this race. We go extremely deep into the tight hairpin, but just about get away with that and actually get a quite good exit from there, because we did that very strange line for them. I'm not sure if we actually got a tap into the braking zone. It's possible we might have got a little tap, I'm not too sure, but we're still holding on to this position with the tyres that are really feeling old now. You can see all the cars behind me at this stage of the race had the fresher tyres, but we've gained positions. You know, we pitted in lap 15 and now we're up to I think we're in P11 at this stage of the race. So although it's not a massive gain, any position gained out of that pit stop was a plus for myself. So we're going to try our best just to hold on to this, as the BMW has a little look up the inside, but he's not able to make that move, as now we're going to have to go defensive down the right hand side. I go to the left and just fake that and go back to the right hand side to cover the inside. And now we're going to see, can we hold the BMW off into turn 1? Not quite as fast as Calster's Lamborghini. He tries to go around the outside, whereas Calster did the undercut on me, and I get on the power. You see the rear going loose. We just about hold on to it and pull away from the corner, still in P11. But now we've got IRT Nisman, who's actually got himself ahead of the BMW M6, and now we've got the Lexus right behind us, which again is a little bit faster than the M6 down the straight, but probably not as fast as Calster's Lamborghini. So it's going to be hard to defend, but we're going to try our best to hold on to this P11. Obviously, it's not the most amazing position to be finishing, but for a top split race with top drivers in, and considering we didn't do any of the other races, where a lot of these other drivers in this race have done the first and second obviously the first, second races of the day. We just went straight into the last race, and we're just trying to hold on at this stage with that early pit stop. The tyres are really thin. You can see that the car's just understeering. We get a massive oversteer moment through the corner, just managed to keep the throttle planted and come out the corner still in P11 as we now approach the end of the penultimate lap. And then we just got 1 and a bit laps to go now. Can we hold on to this position? You can see Calster's starting also, it looks like he's starting to suffer a bit with the tyres on that Lamborghini. We do know that Lamborghini does eat the tyres up quite badly as well, and becomes very loose on the rear end. So we're just trying to hold on. Can we keep this position for P11? And in the end, quite a good result if I can maintain this position from where we started at this track. It is a hard track to make up positions. We're going to go very tight to this corner. You can see that I can see IRT Nisman was having a look on the inside, so I'm just going to hold a tight line and then just try and get on the power as early as possible. I know that in a straight line without the slipstream, that Lexus is going to find it hard to get past. You can see he's in the slipstream. He's going to pull out now to try and go around the left hand side. Can he make a move into turn 1? We're going to be going side by side pretty much. I'm going to brake fairly early because I wanted to take quite a narrow line through there. We give IRT Nisman space on the outside, and we get really good drive from that corner, even though we took quite a tight line like that. And that gives us the inside into the right hand corner now. And because of the extra acceleration we have in the Aston Martin, we're managing to hold on to that position, and just about with the understeer there kicking him, keep P11. You can see that the Mercedes has also joined this battle. This is an Aston Martin train now. We've got a lot of cars fighting for this position. Everyone wants to get past and make up positions. They can see that, you know, one good move could put them up 2 or 3 places. I didn't want to give this position up. Obviously, I'd fought so hard for this by pitting that lap earlier and getting myself up into P11. I just trying to hold on now and drive extremely defensive as we go into the braking zone. And IRT Nisman goes for the lunge, knocks back into the BMW, where I think that the BMW just knocked him out the way in the previous corner. So a very aggressive driving from them 3 drivers. Just look at that in the background. We've actually gained a bit of a buffer now where they've been fighting so much, and this is great for myself now as we go into the final sector of this race, holding on to P11. And just look behind there, you can see the gap we've developed, and now at this stage we've just got to take it extremely easy. Looking at the tyre where we've got no front left hand tyre, you can see it as we go through the corners. It's really suffering, no grip really at all there. The rears are starting to struggle for traction. We're just going to take it extremely easier. There's no point in pushing too hard. We've just got to hold on to this position, as we basically are just holding on now to the car and just hoping that it gets us to the end, going through the final corners onto the final straight. And we've managed to do that and gain quite a few positions with that undercut. So wasn't the fastest strategy. You can see we lost a bit of time to Calster, but not a massive amount. We did lose some time to the other drivers, but at the end of the day, positions, like track position, is everything here, and that's why we went for the undercut and we jumped ourselves up from P15 to P11. So an enjoyable race, really good fun battling. Some moments with a bit of contact, there were some aggressive moves from behind from some drivers, but in the end a good result and a really fun race. I really did enjoy that race, even though it wasn't the result we wanted. It was still good fun to be in. We managed to pick up 1,400 points, 1,423, nothing amazing. But obviously, with the way this point structure works now with these top split races, top split drivers are actually probably at a disadvantage in the whole system, really, because you could be in split 3 and win the race, split 3, finish in P5 and get more points than that, when the quality of drivers is nowhere near the same. So it is a bit of a situation that Polyphony need to look at, the point structure. I think that the top splits needs more points. Split 2 then needs to have enough of a divide to make sure that top split is a good thing to be in, because at the moment the situation is developing where it kind of makes sense to be in split 2 rather than split 1 if you're in a weak car for a track. So there are some drivers that are deliberately, it's been said before, they're basically dropping their driver rating before certain races to make sure they're not in top split, which is up to them, but it's not something I want to do. I want to be competing with the best drivers on the game and having races like that, because they're really enjoyable, even if you are fighting for the middle or the pack spots. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. I thoroughly enjoyed the race. Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section if you enjoyed it. Also, give the video a thumbs up. I do appreciate everyone that gives the video a thumbs up. It does motivate me, obviously, to keep going on and keep pushing these videos out as much as possible. Anyway, thanks again for watching. We're going to be back with more videos and streams through the week, and obviously more FIA practice, etc. And I'll look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thanks again, everyone.